Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the season preview podcast. We're going to go over season two of this Dynasty League. I feel like my camera quality has gotten worse somehow. But over this podcast is going to be a little bit of a longer one. We're going to go over some schedule preview, and we're also going to go over some rosters and see how we're shaped up for year two. Disappointing last year for a lot of teams. Only three teams made the playoffs, and but shout out to the teams that made it and that won the championship, specifically Penn State. This is their second title in the 4 years that we've done the dynasty. Wisconsin and Nebraska were close. Nebraska was a runner-up, and Wisconsin was, I believe, a semifinalist. So, shouts out to those teams. Now that Drew Aller is gone, Penn State looks to turn a new leaf, and we can kind of jump into some previews here. I do want to start by previewing some of the schedules that have been created already. I made it a lot easier for our American Conference teams. They last year had to play a lot of good opponents. Kind of tempered that for them this year so they could have a better chance of making the playoff. But starting off, we got ECU coach CJ, the bitch. He opens up this season with FCS Southeast. This is going to be an opportunity for him to get a win here. And then after all that talk, he's going to end up facing Nebraska at his house. Week two, that's almost a certain loss for him, given the fact that he was 3-9 last year. He then plays Utah State non-con, then he goes to his American Conference schedule. He plays week 9. He plays at Charlotte, and then he hosts Liberty the next week. So very doable schedule for him over there. Hopefully this year he makes a bowl game. Doesn't look like he had much recruiting success. I mean, that team is a 67 overall, so we'll see when we jump into rosters how that roster is looking. But from the get go, it doesn't seem like a great response for this ECU Pirates team. Definitely disappointing. Probably lost some players in the portal. So yeah, I think they're in for a rough season. They can't jump out the gates early. But I mean, definitely an easier non-conference for him. He has the opportunity to go to non-conference and get 2 wins. So let's see how ECU does. Next up, going down the list, we have Georgia. Their non-conference is a little bit harder. The SEC has lost some members, so I kind of loaded their schedule up with some better opponents since they won't have as many user games as a lot of us, especially in the Big Ten. They actually open up their season on a bye. They're going to have week one open, and then week two they are at home against Penn State. They jump into some SEC games. That Penn State game is a rivalry renewed from last year. That's going to be one to watch in week two. Then they travel to Nebraska the next 2 years. That's going to be week 5 this year. And then week 7 they're going to Vanderbilt, and then week 11 they travel to Kentucky. So interesting slate for them. They don't play Tennessee, which is the other pretty big SEC opponent that we have added this year. Georgia and Tennessee are not going to see each other, but hopefully they'll see each other in the SEC championship. Next up, we have Kansas. Kansas struggled last year after the loss of their quarterback, but this year they're at an 80 overall, so not terrible. I believe Jalen Daniels is gone. They're going to open their season at Liberty. They're going to play Missouri in non-con. That's a rivalry. Then they have FCS Midwest, and then they jump into what is a hellish Big Ten schedule. They're going to face Michigan week 5. Week 7, they're traveling to Ohio State. Week 9, they go to West Virginia. Week 10, they play Nebraska. And week 11, they play at Wisconsin. And they finish out their season in week 13 playing Penn State. So just no breaks for this Kansas team that was 3-9 last year. Absolutely abysmal down the stretch. So I don't know how they recover from the last season, but they're going to want to open out the gates early, get a win against Liberty, and then beat the non-conference opponents. Because once they get in the conference play, it's going to be tough sledding from there for them. Next up, we had a surprising team last year. They were surprisingly solid. They had made a late bid for the playoffs, which was the Kentucky Wildcats. They opened up the season ranked 11th in the nation, which is awesome for them at Kentucky. They're going to open up their season at FCS Northwest. And then they have Ole Miss, where they travel to Ole Miss. They have a bye week, and then they play Michigan at home. I assume Michigan, since they've been pretty AFK down to last year, is probably going to get kicked pretty early in the year, so it's going to be a free win for them. And then their conference schedule is pretty easy. They're only facing uh, Vanderbilt and Georgia. So this SEC schedule is very open. There's not a lot of like there's a lot of good opponents, but there's not a lot of users. So there's a lot of opportunities to get some wins. It looks like they improved their defense. They have an 86 overall defense this year. And yeah, we kind of expect a similar performance from Kentucky this year. As long as they can beat CPUs, maybe steal one user game, especially that one against Vandy. Who knows how long Vanderbilt's going to be playing this year. They have a very good opportunity to make the playoffs this year. So this is one of those teams that is definitely not the strongest as far as overall goes, but I think the way he plays over there in Lexington, I think his bid for a playoff is going to be successful. His Michigan team, somehow their overall is the 92. So it didn't look like they had a good recruiting class at all. Very disappointing year last year, 6-6. Um, he claims that the game is much worse than last year, which is largely true, but I think he's just a worse player, to be honest with you. But losing Bryce Underwood in the transfer portal, that's a guy you do not want to lose. I looked at their quarterback room, which we'll go over later, is not strong. Their running backs are still solid, but this year in the hellish Big Ten, I don't know how long it lasts. But he opens up his season with Western Michigan at home. He also gets Oklahoma at home. Then he plays at Liberty and at Kentucky to finish out his non-conference, and then he has a tough Big Ten schedule opening at Kansas week 5, facing Nebraska at home week 6 versus Wisconsin week 8. Week 10 is Penn State and week 13 at Ohio State. So not easy at all for the Wolverines. We'll see how long that lasts. Nebraska, they had some good luck in the transfer portal. They got some QBs, some much needed positions. They have a freshman QB coming in their recruiting class as well. They're looking with the third year Dylan Raiola to have a pretty successful year. They play versus week 1. They play against Ohio. That is Coach Miles, who ended up leaving the league. Should be an easy win. They go at ECU, which also should be an easy win. Week 3, FCS Midwest. And then they have 5 straight user games, facing West Virginia at home week 4, Georgia at home week 5, at Michigan week 6, week 7 at Wisconsin, week 8 versus Penn State. So that's the gauntlet of their schedule. And then they have 2 of the 4 remaining are user games. So just a overall 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 user games the whole year. So it's going to be tough. They definitely have to take advantage early of these early teams and see if they can come out of the gate strong. It's not going to be an easy path to the playoffs this year, especially with all those user games. Next up, we have Ohio State, Coach Taz. A little bit of an easier non-conference this year for him, and the Big Ten, except for the last couple weeks, is pretty manageable. They face FCS West week 1 at home. They go to Texas, which it used to be a user game. It's going to be a CPU game now. Then they face Kent State at home. So relatively light. I actually have to schedule them Kentucky too. So Kentucky will be on their opponents. Kentucky versus Ohio State will be a matchup that plays. Trying to, I think it's gonna be a week 1 game. So week 1 you're gonna get Ohio State versus Kentucky. It's gonna be at Kentucky. So opening up the season, it's gonna be a tough one for both teams. But then to open up their Big Ten slate, it's gonna be week 4. They're gonna play at Penn State. Week 7 they play Kansas at home, and then week 11, 12, 13 they go at West Virginia, at Nebraska versus Michigan. So a tough end of the year for them, but if they can manage that middle of the season, they're going to be having a strong bid for playoffs. That team's at a 96 overall, so they're looking good. I think Jeremiah Smith is one of the favorites to win Heisman, so they're looking good over in Columbus. Next up, we have the defending national champions who come in at a 97 overall. I'm not sure who they got to replace some of their skill position players that they lost last year, but we're about to find out pretty soon here. Week 1, they have a relatively easy non-con game. They have Marshall at home. Then their tough game is week 2 at Georgia. This is a renewed rivalry from last year. It's going to be tough at Sanford Stadium. That's going to be one that we watch out for. Week 3, they face Buffalo at home. Should be an easy game for them. Then they open up their Big Ten versus Ohio State. That's going to be a tough one. Those two teams played, I believe, a pretty close game last year. Week 6, they face West Virginia at home. And then week 8, 9, 10, they have Nebraska at away. 9, they have Wisconsin at home. Week 10, they're at Michigan. And then they finish off the season at Kansas. So this Big Ten conference is still tough. There's a lot of user games. And especially having to play Georgia is going to make it a tough sled for Penn State this year to retain that title. But as far as his skill position, if he plays like he did in the playoffs, I think there's a very big chance that we see Penn State back in the playoffs this year. And yeah, I think they have a pretty good chance. Next up, we have a new team, and they got kind of bailed with their conference schedule. This is Coach LJ. He's new to the league, but he's facing Wisconsin first at home. So Tennessee, Wisconsin, that should be a pretty good matchup. And then they have relatively easy SEC schedule. They don't play any of the other teams. And then they play Kansas State and Baylor week 11, week 12 to finish off their non-conference schedule. But it's not going to be easy. I think some of these SEC schools are known to beat up on some users, especially if you're not playing every week or whatnot, because they can easily win against these user games. We saw a lot last year. We had a lot of users go down to some CPU games. Vanderbilt is next. They actually open up their season in week 0. Kind of a rough sled for Vandy last year, going 3-9, 74 overall team. So it looks like not much luck in recruiting either. But they have some easy games to start off. They have Delaware and FCS Southeast week 0 and week 1. So opportunity to go 2-0 there. And then they don't play a user game until week 7. They play Georgia and then they go at Kentucky. They play NC State later in non-con, but other than that, if Vandy plays their CPU games, I think there's a very good opportunity that they go 6-0 to start if they're able to play those games. This trying to go up against ranked 7 Alabama is going to be difficult, but they get that game at home, so we'll see what happens with Vandy this year. West Virginia also a new matchup. They have a pretty light non-con. There's some ranked teams in the mix, but they open up their season with a backyard brawl rivalry against Pittsburgh. They get that game at home. They face FCS Southeast week 2 at home, and then at Virginia, which will be at Bank of America Stadium next year. That is on the road. And then they also play week 8. They play Stanford. So other than that, it's a tough Big Ten schedule that they have. They have 3 straight user games, which is week 4, week 5, and week 6, all on the road, which really sucks for them. That's at Nebraska, at Wisconsin, at Penn State. That is the gauntlet of their schedule. Then they play Kansas week 9, week 11. They play Ohio State. So it's going to be a tough week 4, 5, and 6 for West Virginia, but we'll see how they respond to that. But yeah, it should be a pretty solid team. They're coming in at 85 overall. Next up, we have Wisconsin. Wisconsin was very competitive last year. They finished 12-3, had 2 losses later in the year that really hurt. They were still able to make the playoffs and be pretty successful in the playoffs. They went to the semifinals where they matched up against Penn State. It was a pretty close game until the end. This year they're playing at Tennessee, that's a tough way to start your season. Is to go to Rocky Top and come out with a W, but we'll see what happens. They play FCS Midwest. They play Pittsburgh week 3, and then they open up their Big Ten schedule in week 4 against Maryland. Week 5, 7, 8, 9 with a bye week in between in week 6. They play versus West Virginia, at home against Nebraska, at Michigan, and at Penn State. So that's the gauntlet of their schedule. They then have Kansas in week 11 at home, and then week 13 they're against Oklahoma State, which is a non-conference little matchup to end their season. So very good chance Wisconsin goes back to the Big Ten championship, but they're going to have to win at least half their user games to get there. So no doubt that they can win their CPU games, but we'll see how they fare against some of the user games that they have on their schedule. Rounding it out with two American Conference teams, we have Charlotte. Not a lot of luck in the recruiting portal. I mean, when you go 3-9, there's not much you can do there, but very much a lighter schedule to open their season. Week 0, they play at Ball State. And then week 1, they play FCS Southeast. So hopefully two wins to start their season. There's no reason they should lose to any of those teams. Week 3, they have at App State, which is the rivalry renewed. They go into the American Conference schedule, where week 9 they'll be home against ECU, and week 13 they'll be home against Liberty. So even though they're not my pick to come out of the American, next team is, I think Charlotte has a good chance, especially last year beating Liberty 35-28, which was the highlight of their season. I think this it may come down to the end game there, week 13, with who goes to the American Conference Championship and who comes out of the American. So we'll see what happens, but Charlotte and Liberty, if they're able to stack some wins together, I think have a good shot at making it. And next up is my favorites come out of the American. We have the Liberty Flames. They were somewhat successful on the recruiting trail. They have a star freshman receiver that we'll see how he performs. They're coming in at 74 overall across the board. I gave them Kansas to open their season. It's going to be at Liberty Stadium. Should be a very competitive game. I think those two will match up well against each other. There's rumors that the kicker and punter are the highest overalls on the Jayhawks roster, so we'll see how that stacks up. Week 3, I gave them Michigan. I don't think Michigan's going to make it to week 3, so I think that's going to be another force win for Liberty, and that's going to have the potential to have two Big Ten teams where you go 2-0 against them, and all they got to do is do well in the American Conference, and then they're in the playoffs. I believe Charlotte does not have to play Memphis this year, so Memphis going 13-1, they made the playoffs. Is going to be a tough game for them. They play Memphis and Tulane back-to-back weeks. Liberty does, but if they can survive those two games, I think they have a really good shot at making the American Championship and even the playoffs. So that's the schedule review. My playoff teams, I think Georgia's going to rebound nicely and make the playoffs. I think Kentucky's going to make the playoffs. I think Nebraska goes back to the playoffs. I think Penn State's in the playoffs. I think Ohio State's in the playoffs. And I think Liberty's in the playoffs. So that's 6 of the 14 teams, or 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 14 teams that we have in the league. I think we'll have about half the teams make the playoffs this year, which is what you want. You want it to be competitive, but we'll see what happens. As far as rosters go, I'm going to kind of go down and break some of these rosters down a little bit. I guess we should probably start off with Eastern Carolina, or no, it'll be Charlotte because it's the first team up here, I believe. Down some of these teams, making sure I'm not missing anybody. Yeah, it's gonna be Charlotte. So they return a receiver, Javen Nicholas, 91 speed, 94 acceleration. Grayson Loftus is a returning junior. Should give you some things to work with there. A good freshman recruiting kicker is coming in. Nothing of too much note for the Charlotte team. I believe Connor Harrell has graduated. Yeah, he has. So he won't be of help. And maybe that QB, freshman QB, might see some reps if Grayson goes down, but we'll see. But yeah, the Charlotte team is not great, to be honest, but it's good enough to win some games for sure. So we'll see how that plays out there. Next up, we have Eastern Carolina. And wow, they have a pretty good running back. London Montgomery, 85 overall, 94 speed, and 95 acceleration. Caden Hauser is coming back for his senior year. And they have a solid wide receiver in Jaquez Pettaway, who's a speedster with 94 speed and 97 acceleration. So a solid group of skill position players for Coach CJ over there. But he's still an ass player, so I don't think that's going to really play out well for him. But yeah, he's got some weapons. ECU can make some noise if they get better at the game somehow in the last, I don't know, a month or so. But we'll see. I doubt it. Georgia. Wow, this team is stacked with some 94 overall guys. I don't really know who came out of the transfer portal who did it, but I know for sure that they got a new QB at 86 overall as a sophomore, Bryce Underwood, the transfer from Jake's Michigan roster. And I believe, I don't know how to say his name, Puglisi, was a starter last year, who was also solid. The rumor is that there's going to be a QB battle in training camp. I think I know who's going to come out, even though I don't think the coach knows at this point. But I think most of us can kind of circle who's going to win that training camp roster spot or that training camp spot at starting QB. But still a stacked team. I mean, they had to replace Delp, who gave a lot of teams a lot of problems last year, but they have Lawson Lucky, who's a very good tight end to replace him at 6'4", 241. So I don't think he's going to be as good as Delp, but I think he's going to be close. As far as other members, really good running back room. They have Nate Frazier and Robinson coming in, or excuse me, Roger Robertson. Both two very good running backs, very good defense as well. Three guys over 93 overall on their defensive side. So, going to be a tough out for them. As long as they can play those CPU games, they're going to be in the playoffs, no problem. So we'll see what happens with them, but very good Georgia team coming into the season. Next up, we have Kansas. Wow, that roster is bad. Their two best players are the kicker and punter that they look like they just recruited, which they're coming in at 79 and 80, so high overalls for them. I assume their starting quarterback will be David McComb. He's a sophomore quarterback. I'm not really sure why he wasn't redshirted. I labeled as a dual threat, but one of the slowest dual threat QBs I've ever seen. A good running back room, Johnny Thompson and Harry Stewart. But other than that, this roster leaves a lot to be desired. So we'll see what happens with them. But not a great start to their recruiting trail. And yeah, they do have a sophomore receiver that has 96 speed, 96 acceleration. So we should see him in a lot of packages this year. Kentucky, they're bringing back a senior redshirt, Caleb Tiernan, left tackle, 93 overall, very solid guy. Dante Dowdle is going into his senior year, as well as Seth McGowan, two very, very good running backs for this Kentucky offense. They're going to lean heavily on that run game. And they also have Easton Messer, who's a elusive route artist. He's going to be good for them. So a very solid team. The rest of those guys, a lot of defensive guys, rounding out the 80s. So this should be a pretty solid roster for them. And kind of a question mark at quarterback. They got Cedric Monty last year in their recruiting portal, or excuse me, yeah, in the recruiting trail. But they, I think, hope to get a couple of QBs in the transfer portal. That didn't happen. They have Cutter Boley. So very interesting who's going to start there. Honestly, I'd give the nod to the freshman. See what he's got. He's got impact dev. We'll see what plays out. But definitely a lot less to be desired there. I think they wanted a running QB. Garrett Wimsatt, I believe, who I've got in transfer portal a couple times. He's a really solid QB. So really a shame that they didn't get that their guy, but who knows? Maybe one of these QBs will step up to the plate. Next up, we have Liberty. Liberty, they're returning their junior quarterback, Malachi Nelson. They have Ethan Vasco, who's right behind him as a dual threat, so I'm not really sure who he's been starting. They also got Michael Van Buren from LSU, I believe. So really stacked QB portal or portal and room for him. It looks like their freshman QB that they got as a pure runner is going to be in the portal. He's going to turn out to be pretty good by his senior year if he's already got 80 speed and 85 acceleration. At running back room, this room is not great for them. They got two freshmen that were there last year in the recruiting portal that they have as red shirts now, or that are eligible to play now. 75 overall, Jalen Coleman with some pretty good speed, and Yevon Dickens, who's a junior. But a very small running back room for them. They only have three backs in the backfield, so hopefully no injuries are plagued for them. In addition, they have a freshman receiver in Harris Boatwright, who is expected to be one of their star receivers this year. I believe he was a 5 star, I want to say. He might have been a 4 star. I can't really remember. And then they have Jalen Mbakwe coming back. And then as a senior, we have Titus Smoke. I don't even want to say his last name, who's got 94 speed, 94 excel. So pretty good wide receiver room. You have a freshman tight end coming in that should be pretty good as well. And then a good Mike linebacker, and then a couple other positions that are above the 80s. So should be a solid Liberty team, good enough to get them some wins for sure. Next up, we have Michigan. I'm not going to spend too much time because I doubt he's going to play anything this year. He's got some good non-skill position players coming in, or is coming back, I should say. Jair Hill at cornerback is going to be good. Will linebacker, Troy Bowles, Justice Haynes, and Jordan Marshall are two good running backs that he has. Very bad freshman class he has coming in. Very terrible on the recruiting trail. But at QB, at this point, it's got to be Jaden Davis who starts. I'm sure he would want some better quarterbacks than that. And I believe Kirk Herbstreit's son, his name Chase Herbstreit. He's the freshman redshirt right now at 68 overall. So I think one player is going to lean on that starting position, and it's going to be Jaden Davis. So we'll see how that plays out for him. I don't think it will be great. Nebraska, they have some players returning. They have Emmett Johnson at running back, who's developed into an 89 overall back. An 89 overall Dylan Raiola, who had a good end to the season last year, star dev. Then two receivers at 86 and 88, Isaiah Hunter and Jacob Barney Jr. But this Nebraska team is gonna lean on those guys a lot. A good tight end coming back in Benjamin Bramer. And yeah, a solid group of players. Demon Williams Jr., dual threat QB he got out of the transfer portal. He's going to look to see some snaps, particularly running snaps, maybe some wildcat-ish plays. But we'll see how that plays out for Nebraska. Definitely want to get back to that national championship game, and we'll see what happens. Next up, we have the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are returning star receiver, favorite to win Heisman, Jeremiah Smith. He is coming in at a 99 overall, 96 speed, 97 acceleration. He's going to be dangerous for anybody that has to play them. James Peoples, their junior running back, coming back at a 90 overall. It's going to be really good for them. And then Jelani Thurman is going to be another deadly player that they have at tight end. Surprisingly, it looks like Julian Sayin is going to be the quarterback for the Buckeyes. He's not bad by any means, but not the best season last year. With all those weapons, you expect to have a really good season. It's him and Taven St. Clair, who's a redshirt freshman, dual threat guy who has star dev, who has a lot better speed. May not have the same, throwing ability. That being said, he does have 99 throw power. Not the same pocket passing and pocket awareness as Julian Sayin, but I don't know. This Ohio State team may lean on Tavian St. Clair, who has better throw power, especially when you're throwing bombs to Jeremiah Smith. You may want to look at, making a change. That's something that we're going to watch out for this Ohio State team. Next up, we have Penn State, the defending champs. Let's see how their team's looking. So they have a left tackle, Jordan Seaton, who I believe they got out of the portal. So I think that made them the number one class in their recruiting trail this year, which getting that left tackle out of the portal. Beefy right guard is their 92 overall junior. So two juniors in the offensive line that are both above 90 overall, and a center that's above 90 overall. So really good for them having three guys above 90. In addition, they got Avery Johnson out of the portal, which is now news to me. He is a very solid quarterback to get to replace Drew Aller. He's got some speed. He's a really good thrower of the football. Struggles for long throws, just speaking out of experience, but he will be fantastic for Penn State. Getting those two guys in the portal, left tackle at QB, really solid for them. In addition, senior running back Jaheim White is going to look to replace the overall production of Nicholas Singleton, who left last year. That's a very solid running back to go and get to replace him. They're going to have 1 year of this guy, 95 speed, 94 acceleration, so it should be another good running back for them. Dorian Fleming's cutting in at tight end. And then they have some, I think, Kamari Moulton, who is a transfer, and I want to say Quentin Martin is a transfer running back as well. So, going to be a really solid team this year again for Penn State. They have a freshman right tackler they can throw in, who I assume will be a 90 overall by next year as well. So really just building the team from the trenches. They have a lot of good defensive players as well, but going to be a tough for opposing defensive lines to go up against what is a solid run game. And as far as receiver goes, that Dorian Fleming is going to be good. They had two freshmen that they recruited this year, and David Duggins and Donnell Atwell. Those should be pretty solid, but nothing of crazy note. They don't have any receivers that are over 84 overall. They have Caden Sanders and Anthony Ivy, who should be leading them out this year, but that is the one area of weakness that they do have is the receiving room is not as good as it is used to being. After Penn State, we have, let's see here, Tennessee. This is a team that's new. They're coming in with a 89 overall receiver in Chris Brazel, who is 6'5", 201, still got 89 overall, 9 speed, 88 acceleration, was pretty fast for that size. Some good players on their tackle or a tackle that's pretty young. Deshaun Bishop is their star running back, 84 overall. They also have Rashid Royster, so solid running back room. At QB, trotting out is going to be Kenny Minchie. I assume it may be Jake Merklinger at 79 overall. Both guys have decent speed. Not the best couple of guys to trot out, though, for sure. It's not the most flashy QB room, but should be good enough to win a lot of games in this SEC schedule. Let's see. Next up, we have we have Vanderbilt, which I don't really think they did that much in the recruiting trail. They have a couple guys at 79 overall at receiver. Their best player is their kicker at 86 overall, which is super high for a kicker. 81 overall left tackle. Running back, they have Tremaine McKenzie, who's a redshirt freshman, who should be solid. And then they have a freshman, Bradley Ferrier, quarterback, 81, 86, and a freshman redshirt, Everett Donahue, who's a little bit better at 74 overall. But it's going to be rough sledding for that Vanderbilt team for sure. West Virginia, we have, and then finally Wisconsin. So West Virginia, this new team has a right tackle that's 91 overall in Trey Zoom. Got a left tackle overall, 89 overall, and a really good running back in Jay Haynes, 88 overall. So two guys that are going to help you run the football on that left and right side is those two tackles. And then they have two receivers at 84 and 85, Van Dravius Jacobs and Cam Vaughn, and then Rodney Gallagher. So very good receiving room. They got some solid left and right guards. And their QB, Nico Marchell, I guess is how you say his name, senior redshirt. And then they also have a sophomore, so they might want to lean on the sophomore. He's got some more time to play. He's also a little bit faster as well. So this West Virginia team should be definitely good enough to win some CPU games for sure, and then we'll see how the rest plays out. Wisconsin, to finally round us off, I hope I didn't miss anybody. Two safeties that are really, really solid, both seniors. Running back George Pettaway is at a 90 overall now. Left tackle, they have an 88 overall. And then at QB, Lincoln Kienholz, which probably was a get from the portal, but I'm not quite sure. They do have a really talented freshman pocket passer, Keely Smith, who might also be in the route for a starting job. So definitely some upgrades at QB has happened over the offseason. And then they also have a freshman in the wings. So we'll see what happens with this Wisconsin team. They are also very solid. A lot of 80s. They had a really good recruiting trail, and they are looking for another bid for the playoffs. I think they will get it done as well. Yeah, so that is all the teams rounded out, kind of in detail. We'll see what happens. We are advancing to week zero tonight, where we will have a couple games. I don't think there's going to be any user games in week zero, but it should be some good teams. Hopefully, this year we have more teams in the playoffs, especially with the easier non-conference schedules for a lot of you. And yeah, I think this year, I don't want to pick him to go back to back, but I think that Penn State, with who he's gotten in the portal, is going to lead him back to at least the playoffs, and honestly, I think another national championship. So he is the team to beat. He's got a target on his back. He knows it. Get your recruiting board set up tonight. I'm going to get some of the schedules finalized. Let me know if there's anything I need to change. And yeah, let's get the season on the road, man. It's been a long off season, but it's going to be fun times. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.